Hey, peace. Great evening. I hope y'all had an amazingly great day in Imago Day, which is in the image and likeness of God. Victoria I. Phoenix here, the world's leading ACE and social trauma escape strategist. I'm the founder of Trauma Training University, where we're helping communities become more trauma triumphant. And I do that primarily through keynotes and trainings and books that I've published and I train on and teach on about adverse childhood experiences and positive childhood experiences, but mainly helping people triumph over the trauma of childhood trauma, even though they may be adults now. So I'm going to jump right in. I tried this last Tuesday, but I guess it was meant the Lord wanted me to study a little bit more or whatever reason. So I had to reschedule it. I started it last week. But this is part number 13 of a series that I started back in October of last year, October 2024. And I culminated it real powerful a couple months ago with the truth in trauma, how Jesus Christ triumphed over every potential trauma known to mankind. Now, to mankind, for most people, it's trauma, but it was just potential trauma to him because it did not traumatize him. But they were potentially traumatic situations, all the way from sexual abuse to family dysfunction, abandonment. Jesus dealt with all that stuff, but he triumphed over it. And that's what my goal is, okay? And let me just go ahead and not warn you, but tell you, most of you all know I'm also a minister of the gospel, okay, with the gifts of prophecy, evangelism, and teaching. So you'll hear me talking about the power of God. But I want my focus really tonight is to be your ACE and social trauma escape strategist, the founder of Trauma Training University. So tonight, like I said, I culminated real strong, and I told you it would probably be the last one for a while, a few months ago when I did the truth and trauma. And I did something that nobody in this industry has ever done. And it was talk about how Jesus Christ, while he was on earth as a human, overcame every trauma known to mankind. Even though I told you that I didn't think that the series was over, maybe I would pick it up a year or some years later, because there's so many of these trauma impacted personality types. So yeah, let me tell you this. This series, ACES at Play, is about helping people better understand trauma-impacted personality types. What's that, Victoria? A person who has been wounded by trauma. As I say all the time, it's one of my coined phrases. What you don't deal with will deal with you. So these are adult people. These are people maybe 24, 39, 19, 48, 68. And because they had things happen in childhood, they had ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, trauma between the ages of 0 and 18, and they never dealt with it, or they didn't deal with it properly. Some people think medicating it is dealing with it, whether it's prescription meds, talking about you got mental illnesses or depression, high blood pressure caused a lot of times by stress eating or whatever, whether you're medicating it through food, relationships, whatever, but you did not deal with it or you did not properly deal with it. And so there are some people, their entire personalities have been shaped by trauma. And so, a phrase we use in the trauma training industry is not what's wrong with you, but you address people by what happened to you. It's not what's wrong with you. When you see somebody with one of these trauma impacted personality types, and now since this series, you know that's what it is. It's a trauma impacted personality type. It's not necessarily that this person is bad. It's that they have been impacted by trauma and it affected their whole personality. It affected their whole way of life. Some people like me, though, we were able to triumph over trauma, and it did not. And for a while there, I wasn't known as this person, but it had a real big piece of my personality because of some trauma I experienced with males in my life, with male father figures in my life. And I just realized it a few years ago and how it was blocking some things in my life. But thank God for the grace and the knowledge, the understanding, the wisdom, the experience, the education to help to triumph over trauma myself, and then to help thousands of people today and millions of people that I'm called to before it's all over, that I will help triumph over trauma. And so this series, when I started it back in October, I think it was October 7th of last year, 2024. And I've named different type of personality types, the masochistic matriarch. And that one may be similar to the one we're talking about tonight, but I don't want you to get it confused. The headstrong, I was the headstrong, I forgot what it is, but basically I was very headstrong and didn't, what was it called? I don't know. But then you have the pimp, the player, Trump, the pimps, the players, and the whores, right? That was one of them. The black and blue sheep, that one was real powerful. That was some real heavy insight in that. The black and blue sheep of the family, right? So this is the 13th part of it. But some series had 1 or 2 parts. Like the black and blue sheep had 2 or 3 parts to it. But nevertheless, a brief history of why I put together this series, ACES at Play, helping you better understand trauma-impacted personality types. One, so you would realize that you're not crazy. You see this stuff all the time. You might, you're not the only person. It could be you personally that's experiencing it in your life, or just people you know, okay, from a distance or up close, at work, in your family, your significant other, or the person who is watching this video right now in your seat, which is you. The first reason I did this series is so you know that these things are real, and it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. This person is sabotaging relationships, sabotaging their own mental and physical health, financial stability, because not that something's wrong with them, but what happened to them. Who crushed them in their childhood? What crushed them in their childhood? What system were they a victim of? Was it racism in their school? Was it just abject or severe poverty in their community, in their church? Was it poor teaching in the church, religion, or church hurt, actually being wounded in a church by somebody not living the way they should? Was it being without a father, or having a father that was not adequate, or, you know, your mother, whatever it was? Is not what's wrong with you that has caused you to be a womanizer now, or what has caused this person to be to overeat, or caused this person to sabotage relationships, to be single at the age of 40, 50, whatever, or be on their 3rd or 4th marriage, or this person that's is addicted to drugs, or this person that is the go-getter, but really they're paranoid. They're trying to, and there was the pimps, the players, the whores, the pushers, and Donald Trump. That was all one category. These people are trying to prove something to, most of the times, their father. Okay, even if it's on the poor end of this thing or the rich end, people with money and people without, right? Still traumas and things like that. So not what's wrong with you, not what's wrong with this person, what happened to them. Secondly, the second reason for this series, as I started it back in October 2024, remember the goal, my mission, for our mission at Trauma Training University is to help people become more trauma triumphant. Okay, trauma is common, childhood trauma is common, but another one of my phrases that I have coined, and I love it: trauma in childhood should not ruin adulthood. Okay, if we catch it, it shouldn't ruin childhood either, but definitely you shouldn't be living it out on into adulthood. And it's a lot of people. When I say a lot, I'm looking right into the camera. I wish I could be looking at some of y'all faces. It's a lot of people that have ACEs at play. They haven't played the ACEs. The ACEs are playing them. They haven't dealt with the trauma. The trauma's dealing with them. And that's why I love that I'm graced and called and commissioned and excited to do what I do. And I have the opportunity to do it all over the world. Get ready to go somewhere great upcoming. And many doors have opened and are open. I'm grateful for it. But so those are the 2 reasons that I did this series. But listen, tonight, God recently showed me this, and then he confirmed it. Boom, 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 boom. I can see this. This one, tonight's part 13 of ACES at Play, helping you better understand trauma impacted personality types. That's the subtitle. Is the Shero, okay? When mamas try to, and I'm saying mamas because a lot of times these are not mothers, these are brown community people. A lot of times poor brown community people, African Americans, are trying, but it can happen in all races, but I've seen it more, and it's been confirmed more in my own, African American community. So the Shero is when mamas are trying to make up for their messes, and they're sabotaging what should be some of the best times in their lives. Their years, their season years where they put in the work, or they can relax. They have grandchildren now, great grandchildren, but a lot of them are sacrificing their freedom, their financial stability, their peace of mind, their mental health, their physical health, trying to take care of children, of their children, or of their grandchildren, trying to make up for the fact that they did not do right by their children. Let me say this. I've seen it again and again and again. And when the Lord showed it to me, he gave me a name. I started seeing it. Boom, 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 boom. You've seen it. You see women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, can barely take care of themselves financially, barely take care of themselves health-wise, emotionally, mentally, physically. But they're going, and I'm not talking about the grandmothers, the aunties that step in because the parents, you know, are on drugs or what. I thank God for those, because that's what happened in my life. Somebody stepped in and raised me, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual mothers who blew it. Matter of fact, during that crack epidemic, during that heroin epidemic, they blew it. I know some people, it had nothing to do with drugs. Their mother was just addicted to men, right? And that comes from a trauma as well. And they chose men or a man over their children. It could have been one man that may have been molesting the children or doing something, abusing them, abusing her in front of them. No good, taking food out of their mouths, whatever. It could have been several men, okay, because of the womb that's in the mother. That's one thing we have to realize. I had to realize it with my birth mother, God bless the dead, that she had so many aces at play in her life. Yes, she was addicted to crack, heroin, alcohol, weed, whatever she could get her hands on. And she told me I was the only child, the baby, the only one that she used drugs the entire time. And she told me she prayed for me the whole time, and God heard her prayer. Thank God. But he had his hand on me because he had a mission and an assignment for me. And I'm grateful. And I hope you are as well, because I get to do what I do now. Right. And so let me make sure that I differentiate between the masochistic matriarch. The masochistic matriarch was the person, the mother we talked about, the mother in the family, a lot of times, or the mother figure who always felt like they had to save the family. They always felt like if it had to be, it was up to them. Like even until to their old age, they're helping people that don't want to be helped. It seems like when they finally find a way out and they have some time for release, the people who should be helping them, people who they've blessed in their lives, their children, their children's children, their nieces and nephews, they should be their offspring, and the people that they have helped to feed and lead should be taking care of them. But they're still trying to save people that don't want to be saved. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a person who has been doing right by people and they just feel a burden because of something that went on that they were without, and so they don't want anybody else to be without, and so they step in. Not that. I'm talking about tonight. We're talking about the Shero. And really, I should have put the fake Shero, because this person really did. And I'm not the judge, and that's what I'm going to get at tonight. That the Jim Crow. I'm gonna get back to that in a minute. The Jim Crow syndrome. Y'all know about Jim Crow after slavery. The Jim Crow laws, and they call it the Jim Crow South, right? So I'll get into that and explain that in a minute, because we don't want a person to feel judged. But let me let you know who this is, because you know this woman, okay? You know, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to men, and there probably are some men like that. But it's more so women, and it's more so African American or brown women, okay? I'm telling you, I can name them and name them and name them, okay? So you have, and this is how really the Lord enlightened me on it. I had sprinklings of it, or inklings of it, and unctions of it in years past, but he really put a name on it and really said and confirmed it and said, just look around you, you can see it, because I had a dealing with somebody that this particular person, it's affecting their relationship, their business, their relationships with people who can help them, the people that they should be around and growing around. They're pushing these people away from them because they're trying to raise children that they are not tied to, they have no responsibility to, but it's a subconscious feeling. And sometimes it's even conscious that women are trying to make up for stuff that they can't make up. You can't buy time back. Yes, God can restore. Yes, God can recover, but you're playing a losing game when you're trying to make up for stuff. And sometimes it was more of a spiritual training, but really it was about traumas as well. But last Thursday, I did part 10, I think, of the Prophetic Health and Wealth series. And I was talking about medication versus education, okay? Wanting to feel better and look better temporarily versus to be better permanently, right? And so you have these women who were on crack, were on heroin, were alcoholics, were chasing men, were doing all kind of stuff, and they missed out on their children's childhood. Somebody else raised their children, or they didn't raise their children. The children were just there raising themselves. They were in and out. They might have lived with them, but they were absent all the time, or they gave them up to somebody. Children may have gotten molested, gotten abused, got abandoned, given away, neglected, whatever. And now that person may have Thank God. This is something I teach. They may be restored, but everything wasn't fully recovered. Okay. I have this thing when I teach rescue, restoration and recovery. Recovery is when you get back as if it never happened. You get everything back. The person who you used to be, what you used to have, what you used to could do. Right. Okay. And the God was giving me this last night, but I didn't think it was for this, but it is for this, right? It's for an assessment that I teach, like the DISC assessment, but it's my version of it, which is related to dealing with trauma, the true assessment. We'll talk about that later, maybe one other day, right? But so the Shero, okay, or I should say the fake Shero, the Shero, when mamas are trying to make up for their messes. These are people who did not do right by their children when they had their own children. So now that they have been restored and they're back in their right mind, or they have peace with God. They're not drugging anymore. They're not drinking anymore. They're not chasing men anymore, and they're stable now in their soul. They're not trying to medicate pain with men or women or drugs or spending the money on whatever. They're in a stable position now, and so now their children are grown. Their children may be successful. They may be unsuccessful. A lot of times they're unsuccessful. They have things, all kind of things going on, which are ramifications of the poor childhood they had at the hand of this mother, right? And so the mother now is bending over backwards, trying to raise other people's kids. I've seen they go and get other people's kids that, and I'm not saying that God doesn't call certain people in certain people's lives. It happened for me, but it wasn't that my aunts, had raised their children. No, they stepped in doing it like a lot of people doing the crack epidemic because it was an urgent situation. It was like emergency, like let me come and get them now. The Shero that I'm talking about, when the mama that's trying to make up for her mess, she has lived, now she's 40, 50, 60, 70, should be settled in her life, should be having pleasant relationships with visitation from the grandkids, helping the kids out when they can or as they can, because grandparents love to do that, but not letting children, sometimes it's the grandchildren, sometimes it's nieces and nephews, sometimes it's just kids they've adopted from people that they know, informally or unofficially adopted, because it's a medication. It makes you feel like, I'm telling you what I know, what was shown to me. It makes you feel like I'm doing my duty, especially if it's their children's children. Okay, so they're enabling their children, and a lot of times their children have issues because of stuff that they did. That's fine, but the children have to. You make peace with yourself that you were doing the best you could, whether you were strung out on a substance, which has control of you. You make amends, you apologize, but self-sabotage is what's really happening when you're really, you have been restored, but you have not totally recovered. You're trying to get back something that you can't get back. And here is, thank you, Holy Spirit. This is how it came to me to explain this. Okay. So back in the, what they call the Jim Crow South. So after slavery was abolished, right? Especially in the South, where slavery was what ran the economy. So a lot of people were hurt and distraught because they were making their money off slaves, and they lost a lot of money when slaves were sold, because they had money in the slaves and they had labor in the slaves. So they lost a lot of money. They're panicking. And so they were upset, and they were still trying to find ways to get money, but they're also trying to find ways to retaliate against, free slaves, right? So in the Jim Crow South, these are what Jim Crow laws were. They were fake or makeshift laws that could be made up in a moment. They were all types of things, barriers set up to keep African Americans, colored people, ex-slaves from advancing. Like they would do it at the voting polls. They would have them ask them crazy questions that there was no answer to or no way to find the answer to, or ask them for an identification, or ask them for to read something. All the stuff that they knew an ex-slave could not do, and therefore they would be prevented from getting being able to vote or getting an identification or something like that. Or they would, and it happens today. They always would say, okay, in order to be able to vote, you need to read this passage. So somebody would go learn how to read and come back. When they came back, they'll move the finish line again. The Jim Crow South was all about making up rules on the spot, making up laws and rules to keep African Americans from doing certain things. So basically all they were doing was what is called moving the finish line every time. And it's still done today. You have people, I've seen it done in school systems, corporations, you have somebody, and because they don't like you, they're prejudiced. It could be prejudice racially. It could be that they don't like you as a person. It could be nepotism. They have the job. They want to give it to their friend or their family. And what they will do, they will tell you all the qualifications that you need to do. And they see you working and hustling and struggling, and you get it done. And then they say, oh, we just added a new requirement, or, oh, and so they keep moving the finish line. That's the game the enemy will play with mothers who are trying to do something you shouldn't be trying to do, trying to make up for lost time, trying to make up for the wounds you caused your children when you were drugging or drinking or chasing men, or you were unstable. Okay, you were wounded and you needed help. There were ACEs at play in your life. You have to come to grips with that. Something I heard, one of the wisest things I ever heard, I do it still now, but I used to pay a lot of money, go all over the world to be in these courses and stuff. And I've studied under some powerful people, and it has paid off in with interest, right? God has blessed me to be able to do that. But this man said this. He said, people do the best they can with what they have at a given time. He said, don't fault your he didn't say ancestors, but your elders or people in your life who did this or whatever. And then I heard somebody else say it a little better, more like I would say it. He said, people do the best they can with their level of awareness at that time, okay? Or I can say now, even revelation, what they have. Your parents, your grandmother, whoever was had a poverty mindset, they taught you what they knew. They modeled what they knew. They didn't know any better. Your mother, father, whoever strung out on drugs, they were trying to medicate a pain. There was some ACEs at play in their lives. So you can't fault others, but here I'm talking about mothers who fault themselves. So they now see the negative harvest of the seeds they planted. They realize that their children are doing things that they don't approve of, or doing things that are ungodly and unacceptable in society now. And they know it deep down. They feel like, this happened because when I was in the streets, they were left to this and this and it's true a lot. It's true many times. Okay. It's not what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you. All children are born innocent and sweet and trusting and pure and full of faith and full of energy and full of love and cooperation and loving people. And then the world and experiences at the people whose hands they are, at the hands of adults is where children learn to hate, and children learn to fear, and children learn to shrink in the presence of others. That's where and so yes, true enough, these mothers did had less than acceptable lives, and their children suffer because of it. But now is the time to own up to that. First of all, thank you, Holy Spirit. This was such a profound statement that that Holy Spirit spoke to me. And I'm gonna say Holy Spirit because I'm a minister of the gospel. I'm outside of that, scratch all that. I'm in love with God. I'm a child of God, and I want to live his best and blessed life for me. So I hear God's voice, and you should as well. You have that right. You're supposed to have him direct you. But this is something the Holy Spirit spoke to me earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year. It might have been in the last year. I think it was earlier this year. He said this. He said, a lot of people haven't fully recovered from the crack cocaine epidemic. And this is true for any drug epidemic. In the 60s, it was heroin. 60s, 70s, whatever, 80s, until that phased out. And then the devil brought another new drug, crack. And then that phased out, and then meth. And then now pills and opioids, right? And so I'm going to speak from the era I grew up in, what I know the most about, right? But it's true for it's true for any drug era, right? This is what came to me in a sense of a revelation. And I put it up on a post, and I put it in my notes for Trauma Training University. It's this right here. This statement is very powerful. I want you to listen closely. I'm going to say it again so you can let it sink in. You know how I put that on my written post? Read it again and let it sink in. All right. So this is the statement that came to me, right? Many people, many families have never recovered, or it's been decades and decades, and they still haven't recovered from the crack cocaine epidemic. Not because they're still using drugs, because whoever was using drugs in the family, they're over that now. They're living wholesome lives. They're drug free. They're stable. But it's not because they're still using drugs. It's because they never dealt with the things that they did while they were using drugs. So there are things that happen in the family. There are things that happen between mothers and daughters, mothers and sons, that happen between parents and their children. Let me say it that way. Things that happen between siblings, things that happen in the community, things that were allowed to happen because the parents were compromised by drugs. And so this is the thing. This is the thing. Let me say that again and let it sink in. A lot of people have never recovered. I'm finding this from the crack cocaine epidemic. It's not because they are still using crack. They're not. They're drug free. A lot of them are drug free now. They're in the church. They don't even smoke. They don't drink. They don't do anything, right? But it's because they're not still using drugs. They haven't dealt with the things they did while they were using drugs. They haven't gone back to their children and say, I hurt you, or because of me being out of it and not being fit for it because of drugs, I let somebody else hurt you. I let the system hurt you. My God, my King. And they never sat down and apologized and say, yes, it's true. It's not. People are saying, what's wrong with you? You have learning disabilities. You have this. You have you have emotional insufficiencies and inadequacies, and you have trouble. And it's not what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you. I know they're not going to use that exact verbiage because that's trauma training, unless you've been watching me for a while, and some of you have. But it's not for the parent to say to try to brush over it. But it's not for them to dwell on it either. You do need to confront it. You do need to sit down with that child, or even that spouse, or even that parent that you hurt, and say, hey, yes, son, daughter, yes, mother, I hurt you when I was strung out. I allowed other people to hurt you. I allowed the system to hurt you. Things, you have some things going on now. It's not something wrong with you. It's something that happened to you. What I did as an unfit parent when I was chasing men or women, or when I was selling drugs or using drugs, it caused some things in your life, and I apologize for it. I had some things going on. And you can be honest. You were medicating the pain. Nobody's on drugs because it's glamorous. Everybody hates when people have teeth missing and face sunk in, and they're walking around looking crazy, doing all kind of stuff that's oh my God, not just ungodly, but I feel sorry for some of the things that people compromise themselves in the face of other people. They're not even ashamed to stand in front of another person and beg for money with dumb lies that don't make any sense, but they're not in their right mind. The spirit that is the drug is taking over them. And so they do things, all type of things to their children, to their bodies. And so that's a lot to deal with, but you have to face it. And you also have to face it with the people that you hurt. My God, while in this state, okay? And so that's the first thing. When you're a Shero, you're a mama that's trying to make up for your mess because you hurt your children, because you were not there for them. So now you're trying to take care of their children, and you're enabling them to do the same. No, I'm not saying that you have the chance to help a child, but many times you go, let me tell you this, I went through a lot. I saw a lot, but I still you have to pray and have God's grace. But many women, they're medicating their pain, the fact that they haven't dealt with what they think they failed at. And so they're trying to make up for it by raising other people's children, whether it's their children's children, their grandchildren's children. And a lot of times it's a strain on their health, their mental health, their physical health. I know it. I can name people right now firsthand. But God showed me what it is. So how do you deal with this person? If it's you, or if you know somebody, let them know first. Like I said, they do need to come to grips with, yes, it's over. Okay. But rescue, recovery, and restoration. They've been rescued. They're not in drugs anymore, or they don't feel the need to get high no more. They found peace. Restoration. Okay. They're now, they don't feel the need to have drugs anymore. So now they've been delivered from drugs. They don't use drugs. They don't use alcohol, none of that. But then recovery. They haven't recovered their relationships. Things haven't gone back to where they were before they did this damage. Okay. Because they won't confront. You got to tell people to confront this, to sit down, admit it. If God can forgive you, you need to forgive you and forget about whoever else won't forgive you. Sometimes your children won't understand, but I'm going to tell you what I know, how God moved on my heart for my own birth mother. She didn't come to me and ask for forgiveness. She still was out of it. She still was trying to live the life until, my God. She still was living the life until that life took her out of here. She never came with grips. I know now, she had so many aces at play in her life. She didn't even see me or see us as her children. We were more like friends or brothers and sisters to her. God is showing me that now she never knew how to even relate to us as children. When she would come in and out of our lives when we were with our aunts, I see it more and more clearly every day now. She didn't even know how to relate to us as children. As her children, right? She had a lot going on in her, and a lot of it I still don't know. But God has shown me some things by the Spirit and by what I do now as an ACES and social trauma escape strategist. I can see a lot of things clearly. A lot of things I don't know, and a lot of things I might never know. But many things, more than most people can see, I understand. She had a lot she was dealing with, right? And so she never came to grips. She never came to us and tried to apologize or try. Even the last years where she was paralyzed in a nursing home, her last 15 years of her life, I had to go see about her, to take care of this. And many times she would lash out at me. She never came to grips with it. Okay. And that life took her out of here. But while some of you all still have time, you first got to come to grips with, yes, you did some horrible things, but it's okay. We all have done some horrible things. No sin is greater than the other. Yes, you might feel super horrible about some of the things you did to your children and with your children and to yourself. But you have to, if God can forgive you, guess what? Guess what? Nobody else's opinions matter, including your own. But yours does matter though, because you have to live with you. So you got to know that if God can forgive you, you got to forgive you. And then even if your children don't understand, but I pray, I release that grace. I used to tell women at the jail when I go visit the jail ministry in my hometown when I was very young, without kids, not married. And most of those women in there were in there for crazy things they had done for drugs, like 97% of them, right? And many of them had done many wrong things, to their children or with their children or for drug. And a lot of them were so broken and so hurt. But me being there, okay, and testifying to them that God turned turned me toward my mom's heart. So much so that in the last years of her life, I did things for her that nobody else would ever do would ever have done. They don't have a chance to do it now. When I talk about seeing about her need, her body, she still was on it for a while. She still was on a menstrual cycle. She couldn't do anything for herself. So you know what I'm talking about, right? That. And even times when she was lashing out at me, even times when she still haven't come to grips, to peace with God or herself, and was just doing and couldn't do anything for herself, verbally abusing me, all kinds of crazy things. Okay. But then she started to come around, but it still was never like, I don't think it's ever like, I want to apologize to you for what I did and I'm sorry. And guess what? She didn't have to, because God healed me. And I knew also God showed me that she was dealing with things. She was doing the best she could. My God, the people around her couldn't help her. Her brothers and sisters. Her mother died when she was very young. My grandfather, my sister, my aunts and uncles, they couldn't help her. They were dealing with their own things. They did not have the skill set. They were not spiritual enough. And so that's why God has called me, has given me the ability to break through some things, break out of some things to help other people do the same. I love it. I'm glad for this grace. I'm glad for this assignment. I'm so glad. And so you got to come to grips with, yes, you did wrong, but God has forgiven you. And so you got to forgive you. And you got to, and I thank you that when you go and begin this, God has already done some things with your children, or will do some things with your children. I'm telling you what I know, and that same grace is upon you, that they're going to forgive you. They're gonna be understanding to say, hey, you had things going on, and even though they're in their mess now. And guess what? I saw this happen when I went to do New York missions work last month, right in July. When you make that step, like I said, the mother did whatever, and so the child got wounded, and so then the child is repeating a lot of same stuff their mother did. And so with the mother, the Shero, the mama that's trying to make up for her mess, will go in and start raising this child, and the child keeps having more children and not even taking care of the ones that she has. And what the mother is doing, she's trying to medicate her pain and make herself feel better about what she didn't do for her own child, but she's enabling her child to go out and repeat the cycle instead of saying, hey, I was wrong, I hurt you, please forgive me. And that's going to put some things in motion, and it'll cause generational healing. Just like there's generational trauma and wounding, and hurts and pains, and generational bondages and sins because of that. Generational healing and wholeness and togetherness can happen as well when you make that first move. First to forgive yourself. First to own up to it. Then to forgive yourself. Then go to others for forgiveness, okay? Even if they don't forgive you, but they will, okay? It might not happen instantaneously. Some will. Some of y'all will. But even if they don't, God is forgiving you and God is working on the situation, and they will. But even if in some scenarios, the person like whatever, and they might, and that same unforgiveness might drive them to their grave, whether you believe it or not. Okay. Cause them to go deeper into their drug habit, cause heart attacks and cancer and that kind of stuff. I'm telling you what I know. Okay. So if they never do, okay, or they never own up to it or whatever, you still have set some things in motion. But I'm telling you what I know. When you get it going, generational healing and wholeness and recovery can happen. It's not just about being rescued and restored. That's important. That's vital if you're going to live. But you can get to recovery. You can get things back to new. Okay. And so, I think that's it right now. I think that's in a nutshell. Again, this is the Shero, the mama that's trying to make up for her messes. She's raped a lot of times, many times. You got, I've seen this. I see it. You got the mama. She feels bad about herself. First of all, who are you to judge another man's servant, including yourself? You're God's servant. Let him judge you. God is okay. There's no condemnation. We all do things, right? And you did what you could. You might have been taught wrong. You didn't have a support system, whatever it is. Okay. And then, but when you could, you got better. But now that you got better, don't go try to go back and redo time. God will restore. God will do things, but you sabotage. A lot of times people are sabotaging their friendships with good people, their relationships, because they're trying to take care of responsibilities that belong to somebody else. And it's okay to help people. It's okay to be there, but not to the point where it's enabling them and it's causing, oh, listen. Oh man, the Bible says, cast not your pearls before swine, neither give that which is holy to the dogs. It says basically they're gonna turn it again and rend it. They're gonna throw it back up in your face. They're gonna eat whatever and then throw it back up. Basically, I'm paraphrasing that last part. All right, in Matthew 7:7, I think 7:6 or 7:7, 7:6, I think. Because 7:7 is ask, seek, knock, I think. Matthew 7:6, I think, if you want to look at that. Okay, cast not your pearls before swine, neither give that which is holy unto the dog. It's okay, and I understand when no child should have to go through that. I'm telling you, I went through things. You got God, ask God for the grace, because what you could be doing, Shero, mama trying to make up for your mess, what you could be doing is further traumatizing further generations, because you're enabling that when that person keeps having children, they keep having children, strung out on drugs, chasing men, unstable, and they bring them to this mother that's trying to make up for it, taking advantage, and it's straining the mother, the grandmother. This Shero that's trying to make up for her mess is straining her physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, and it's enabling this other person to keep medicating their pain with unprotected sex and drugs and that kind of stuff. And all it is the baby that they're bringing to this mother to raise, to their grandmother to raise, that's more dysfunction. And so you're putting that child in an awkward situation now. And so now the same things oh my God, the same thing that the grandmother went through that caused her to mistreat the child. Now that child and the grandmother then also is passing that stuff on. And I'm telling you, please understand what I just said. It's generational. You think you're helping, but you're hurting. Pray for that child. Give them the support you need, but taking their responsibilities. And like I said, this is the clue right here. This will let you know. I see women all the time. They're 60 going on 70, 70 going on 80. They have no business with these young children. And you see them struggling. It's all over their face. They're stressed. They're worried. People don't want to, people their age, people who are their good counterparts that can help them with stress relief by just talking and hanging out with them. People don't want to be around them because you are 50, 60, 70, 80, and you got these small crack kids running wild because you're trying to make up for what you did to your children by raising their children. All you're doing is further traumatizing and setting another generation up because you got that baby now in an awkward situation between mama and grandmama. The child is still seeing all this kind of stuff, but you have not come to peace with, yes, you did wrong. Yes, your children suffered from it, but you can not just be rescued and restored, but you can recover all too. Just be real. Sit down with that person and stop trying to fake please them, doing stuff for them you shouldn't be doing. What you really need to do for them, the main thing that they need is for you to come to grips, come admit that you hurt them, you wronged them, and what they're doing now might be as a result of the trauma that you caused. Ask them for forgiveness and ask God to help y'all to stop this cycle. My God, I got real passionate about this. Ask God to help y'all stop this cycle, because what you're doing is sabotaging generation after generation after generation. It's passing on, because the devil has you. Oh my God. He has you with that Jim Crow theory, just like they did African-American people. He's pushing the bar. So now the person got a third, fourth child, and you still you're 70 years old, 60 years old, 40 years old, 45, 50 years old with a health problem, with fixed income, and you're trying to take care of your children's children, or your sometimes it's not even related, your neighbor's children or your goddaughter's children, because you're subconsciously and sometimes even consciously, you feel like you're paying God back. You're making up for. You can't make up for that. God has already forgiven you. Forgive yourself. Go to these people. Be accountable to the people that you hurt. Ask them for forgiveness and tell them you're going to help them, not enable them to keep perpetuating this cycle of dysfunction, whether it's drugs, chasing men, women, alcohol, whatever it is, mental illness. Having people not deal with their problems, but just pass them off to somebody else. They're passing it back to the older generation, and then the older generation is helping them to perpetuate it in their current generation and pass it on to the next generation, because this dysfunctional cycle is going and going and going. Because you got mothers who feel like I was wrong, and you were. Okay. Yes, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma came from that, but God can do anything. Like I said, I'm going to close out here. God doesn't, when it comes to trauma, God doesn't choose it, but he can and he will use it. I'm a living witness. Okay. God will mend hearts. He will restore relationships. He will cause you to recover all, including your relationships, your sanity, your peace of mind. But you have to stop trying to play God and trying to fix things by adding more dysfunction to it. I think I said it well. I think it's done. I said this is the first time. I guess when I don't say it out loud, that's when it happens. 'Cause a lot of time I get on here and say I'm only gonna be here for a little while. I've been on here less than an hour tonight, and I think I said it well. This is a powerful. The Shero, when a mom is trying to make up for her misses, how debilitating and how destructive and how generationally dysfunctional that is, and how that's a trick of the enemy, and he wants you to keep trying, because all you're doing is adding flames to a fire that's burning out of control. My God, that was summarized well right there, if I'm gonna say so myself. But it was some good stuff in here. You know this person, you know people on your job like this. Always stressed out. Never they should be enjoying this time of their life. Even you would say, well, how should they be enjoying their life? They were not working hard and doing the right thing in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Guess what? God forgives that. Either way, they've seen a lot. They're in their 50s, 60s, 70s now. It's time I'm not going to go into nothing else. Listen, this is part 13 of ACES at Play, called the Shero, when a mama is trying to make up for her misses. This is powerful. This is insight. This is a person you know that has a trauma impacted personality type. They're not stupid. They're not delusional. Yet you say, man, this woman's 68. This woman is 59, 49, and why she keep letting these people bring her these babies? Sometimes they don't. I've seen people go and find children to try to take care of, because they're trying to fill a void. They're trying to medicate a pain. They don't only being real with themselves and God and the people they hurt can really heal. Not medicate, but actually heal. All right. Listen, if you want to get a chance to win my 10th book, which is an anthology, a compilation of a lot of my unpublished writings, is powerful. You want to win the first copy free. It's going to be free and signed. And blessed by me, shipping and handling included. Email the words empower me to VIP@playyourace.org. Okay. If you don't win, I want you to get ready to invest in a copy or copies for people you feed and lead, because it's some powerful anointed insight in here about so many different things for all types of people. That's coming real soon. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about so much stuff that's on the horizon right now. God is great. He's called me to help people become trauma triumphant. And it's very necessary. It's vital, because trauma is very common. And what you don't deal with will deal with you. And it's dealing with a lot of people. But I'm here for you. All right? Peace, y'all. I love y'all. God loves you more.